Research is out showing your partner or spouse can significantly impact your health, both positively and negatively. In fact, the quality of your relationship and the dynamics between you and your partner can influence many aspects of your physical, mental, and emotional well-being. Joining us now is the author of Kickass Husband, Winning at Life, Marriage, and Sex, Matthew P. Hoffman. Matthew, it's always such a pleasure to see you.
Love being with you, Gayle.
So let's talk about how the environment of marriage or being with a partner long-term can impact you physically and mentally in either direction, for the better or for the worse.
Absolutely, Gayle. You know, it depends on what kind of culture you set up in the relationship, and it can be either a toxic one that you're scared of and afraid of and hits you both of those areas you spoke of, or it can be life-giving and just bring you to, you know, the best person that you can be.
So obviously we want to lean towards the latter, but we know, of course, that every relationship has its bumps, it has its conflicts. So how do you learn to find that common ground?
I think what's most important, Gayle, is you have to learn how to look at conflict as an invitation to connection, not a way to go to battle. When there's conflict in a relationship, we get our fight or flight response and we're ready to go. Our cortisol levels go up and we are ready to fight. And that's good in the moment for our own safety, but if you're always at that level in a relationship, you can get fatigue, adrenal failure, and you just can't stay there forever.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about this adrenal failure, this is stuff that can impact you physically. It's not just an emotional, but when you start getting run down from the same arguments, the same disagreements, it wears on you.
It does, it does. So you need to really learn how to turn conflict into an invitation to connection. When there's disagreement or partners aren't on the same page, it's an opportunity for you to be Sherlock and learn about what is it that my partner is so emotional, concerned, or affected by, and what can I do to support them through this?
So is there a question that each partner can ask themselves during this kind of conflict or just to find harmony in a relationship?
Absolutely. Before you talk, Gayle, I mean, even in your thoughts, right? I think it starts in your thought. You have to think, if what I'm about to say or do going to give life and animation and support and goodness to my partner, or is it going to tear him down? I'm a firm believer that there's really no neutral actions in a relationship. Everything you do is either building somebody up and making them better, or tearing them down or taking them to a place that they don't want to be.
I know you have a popular podcast and you talk about the pillars, 14 pillars of a successful relationship. Kind of walk me through some of those.
Yeah, there's 14 of them, and I think the most important ones are the 3 C's. You and I have talked about those before: commitment, communication, and conflict resolution. And communication, I think, is really the most important. And communication doesn't mean just talking, like you know, but you're doing more listening and learning how to be empathetic listening. You know, Gayle, I bet if your husband had to wear those high heels you've got on today and walk a mile, he would have a much better idea of what you deal with on a day-to-day basis, right? And we're not willing to do that with our partners and figure out where they are and what they're feeling just to understand it so we can be empathetic with it.
I like that. So communication is key. What are some of the other pillars that you say are really foundational? I know they all are, but...
They all are. Well, you know, one is trust, because trust takes a long time to build up. I know you're celebrating 19 years of marriage, and I bet it's taken a long time for you and your husband to a high level of trust. So you're making deposits all the time in that. But as a partner or spouse, you can do one thing and it can wipe the balance of that account totally out. So it takes a lot of time to build up, but you can lose it by making one big mistake in the relationship, and then you got to start all over again to build it. So I think trust is a huge one.
Yeah, and it does take time. I was talking to actually a dear girlfriend of mine who's, in my opinion, relatively newly married, you know, 6 years-ish. And, you know, I think as women especially, we deal with insecurities even if they're not warranted, even if our partner or husband is not doing anything to contribute to that.
Right.
Why do you think that is?
Well, you know, we each have our own viewpoint, and there's 2 in every relationship, and I think that we forget. I forget sometimes. My wife may think or say or express something, and I might say, that's ridiculous, right? Or I'm thinking, why does she feel that way? And I have to remember, there's 2 opinions in every relationship, and they're both right. So you may be feeling something that's very real to you, and your husband may just not understand it. So his job is to figure out, why does it make it feel this way? Why is she going through this? How can I not change, provide solutions, but get in there and support and just understand so I can get on the same page with her and what she's going through?
Yeah, because my husband and I were actually on your podcast, and I think he might have touched on this. It's been so long since we did it, but he really since he really knows me as a human, and he knows like my childhood or different things about me, he can zero in on like why I might be feeling insecure or where that is coming from. So it kind of then circles back to what you said. It's the communication, the understanding, and even you looking at yourself, realizing, well, maybe this is coming from someplace other than the relationship.
Absolutely. It's kind of the phrase we use a lot, Gayle, is what's the dream within the conflict? Or what's the dream? In other words, it's appearing as my wife is really angry and upset, but what's behind that? And it could be something from their childhood, something they experienced when they were growing up. Could be something that somebody said to them that I have no knowledge of. So it's really not getting upset by that, but just keep asking the questions and digging and why and getting underneath until you have that understanding.
Very, very interesting. Well, Matthew, as always, thank you for joining us on Bloom. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, Gayle.
And we have great news. We're going to take a quick break. And up next, our Bloom Tampa Bay digital reporter and producer, Brody Waddell, is joining us about the top signs that show you're ready to get married. We'll be back with more Bloom right after this.